The nervous system. Coordination. All living beings are dependent on a number of processes going on in their body like digestion, respiration, movement, etc. These processes do not function independently, but they are interrelated to fulfill the general needs of the body. The interaction of these activities of a living being as per the needs of the body, internally or externally, is called coordination. There are two types of coordination, that is the nervous coordination and chemical coordination. Nervous coordination. This coordination is brought about by the nervous system, which is made up of the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and the sense organs. Some examples of this category are: when you feel hungry, you eat food. The act of eating food involves a number of coordinated activities. Your eyes look at the food placed on the table, your brain records this information, and the action starts. The arms get the message that they are raised, and the hands hold the plate in which the food is kept. The fingers pick up the food and push it into the mouth. The food goes down through the alimentary canal and after a series of processes in the body reaches the bloodstream to fulfill the requirement that had artisan when you felt hungry. Playing a fast game like tennis requires a lot of coordination by the muscles, judgment by the brain, and observation by the eyes. Pain in a sprained ankle signals not to move the affected part, otherwise it may not recover fast. Chemical coordination. This coordination is brought about by chemical messengers called hormones. An example of this category is: in an emergency situation, if you are suddenly attacked by a bull in the street, you try to run away from it. In such a situation, certain chemicals are released into the blood to provide you extra energy to run and the strength to run. Structural and functional unit of nervous system, the neuron. The nervous system is made up of special cells called nerve cells or neurons. A neuron is made up of two main parts: a main cell body called cyton, which gives out a number of fine processes or dendrites, and a long process called axon. The cell body contains a nucleus. The dendrites are cytoplasmic extensions of the cell body. They receive messages, that is impulses, from the organs and transmit them through the cell body into the axon, which transmits the message. The end of the axon terminates in a number of branches called terminal branches. The individual neurons make contact through these processes. The terminal branches of the axon or one neuron lie very close to the dendrites of another neuron. This point of contact is called a synapse. It is at the synapse that the message is transmitted from the axon of one neuron to the dendrites of the next neuron. Messages are relayed in this manner from one neuron to the other. Types of neurons. There are three types of neurons. Sensory neurons. Sensory neurons carry impulses from the sensory cells or sense organs to the spinal cord or brain. Motor neurons. Motor neurons carry messages from the brain or spinal cord to the effector, that is the gland or muscle. Associated neurons. Association neurons lie in the spinal cord and transmit impulses from one neuron to another. Nerve. A nerve is formed of a bundle of axons, that is nerve fibers enclosed in a tubular medullary sheath. This sheath over the axon acts like an insulation and prevents the mixing of impulses in the adjacent fibers. There are three kinds of nerves. Sensory nerve. It contains only sensory neurons, that is optic nerve of the eye. Motor nerve. It contains only motor neuron, example nerves of the muscles of the eyeball. Mixed nerve is the one which carries both sensory and motor neurons, example the nerve which goes to the tongue. The human nervous system. The nervous system of human beings consists of the following two items. The central nervous system. It consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The brain lies within the skull and the spinal cord lies within the vertebral column. The peripheral nervous system. It consists of the nerves passing to and from the central nervous system, reaching out to all parts of the body. The peripheral nervous system further consists of two subdivisions, that is, the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. The brain. The human brain is the most complex and most important organ of our body. The brain, along with the spinal cord, forms our central nervous system. On average, an adult human brain weighs about 1.5 kg. It is contained in and protected by a bony structure called the skull or the cranium. The brain is further enclosed in three protective membranes collectively known as meninges, which are separated by cerebrospinal fluid. The brain has three main parts, that is the cerebrum, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Cerebrum is the largest portion of the brain. It is divided into two halves called the cerebral hemispheres. Each hemisphere is internally hollow. The outer surface of the hemispheres is folded with ridges and grooves which increase the surface of the brain so as to accommodate a large number of neurons. The human cerebrum contains about 9 billion neurons. The cerebrum is the seat of intelligence, consciousness and willpower. It controls all the voluntary activities. Cerebellum. It is much smaller and is located under the cerebrum. Its main function is to balance the body and coordinate muscular activities. The cerebrum decides an action, whereas the cerebellum implements the action. For example, if you get an idea to stand up and walk, it arises in the cerebrum, but the muscles involved in this process to contract or relax lies under the control of the cerebellum. Cerebellum gets affected by alcohol. That is why an alcoholic is unable to coordinate his muscular movements properly. Medulla oblongata is the lowest part of the brain and continues down to the spinal cord. Its function is to control the activities of the internal organs. For example, beating of the heart, breathing, swallowing, digestion, sneezing, etc. Injury to the medulla may result in immediate death of a person. The spinal cord. The spinal cord extends from the medulla of the brain and runs down almost to the whole length of the backbone. The main functions of the spinal cord are to control reflexes below the neck, to conduct messages from the skin and muscles to the brain, to conduct commands from the brain to muscles of the trunk and limbs. The peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of nerves which connect the central nervous system to all parts of the body. It is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system. Somatic nervous system consists of two sets of nerves, the cranial nerves arising from brain and spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. Somatic nervous system is responsible for relaying sensations from the body, that is smell, taste, sound, etc., to the central nervous system and for sending out commands from the central nervous system to skeletal or voluntary muscles. Autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system consists of a pair of chains of ganglia, which is a mass of cytons of nerve cells and nerves found on either side of the spinal cord. This system acts largely unconsciously and regulates the involuntary activities of our internal organs like the heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate, pupillary response, etc. Autonomic nervous system operates through two systems, the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, which are opposite in their actions. Sympathetic nervous system produces immediate fight or flight responses against abnormal conditions, while the parasympathetic nervous system reestablishes the normal conditions. For example, if systematic nervous system increases the heart rate, parasympathetic nervous system relaxes it. To conclude, the different parts of the nervous system and their main functions are brain. The brain comprises of cerebrum, which stands for intelligence, consciousness, memory and willpower, cerebellum, which involves muscular coordination and body balance, medulla oblongata, which assists breathing, digestion, beating of the heart, etc. Spinal cord. It controls the reflexes below the neck, conducts messages from skin and muscles to the brain, conducts commands from brain to the muscles of trunk and limbs. Thank you.